it outside?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a
And
full
we-
facade.
Yeah,
Works
but-
out, sticks around, and all that good stuff. So,
We hired Mark Watts from
Yeah,
Lyle.
okay.
As our CSO.
It's 2:00, so we should get started. I'm gonna call the meeting of the Police Records Management System Oversight Committee to order. And can we have a roll call, please?
Berlin,
Here.
Bloom,
Here.
Cronin,
Here.
Fieldman, Prms, Moranowitz,
Here.
Martinovich,
Here.
McPherson,
Here.
Mendrick, Scalera, Vesta.
Here.
Zerwin. Here. We have a quorum.
Okay, terrific. On the order of chairman's remarks, I just want to note recent retirement of Jim Kruger, Oak Brook Police Chief for the last 11 years. He just left the Oak Brook Police Department. Jim was a leader in law enforcement, not only in the county, but in the state. Tremendously knowledgeable about all issues. Of course, 2 days before his retirement, he was at the Oak Brook Mall when the shooting occurred and handled it incredibly well with tremendous poise. So just want to wish Jim the best. Okay, do we have any public comment?
We do not.
All right, there being no public comment, we'll move on to approval of the minutes. A motion in a second.
I move to approve the December 14th minutes of the Police Records Management System Oversight Committee.
I'll second it. Motion, and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. And we can now move on to item number 6, which is the reports, which is the DuPage RMS monthly reports for December 2021 and January 2022. Looking for a motion in a second to receive and place on file.
So moved.
Motion,
Second.
you have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the reports are received and placed on file. We'll move to item 7, discussion. So 7A, support level improvements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Dave Jordan will go into detail. He's actually going to present in 1 second. There it is. Okay. About some improvements that I communicated out to the police chiefs, and also I've sent the same message to you guys as an FYI to kind of let you know what we have planned. When I started 7 months ago, I've met with a lot of the chiefs, some of the records managers and others, those of you in this room, to kind of talk about what's working well, what's not working so well with PRMS, and what we can do to improve those things. So the 8 points that I provided in that communication kind of highlight our plan for the near future, the things that we're going to focus on to improve PRMS support moving forward. Dave is going to do a deeper dive for this group, and he and I both will address any questions or concerns that you might have after.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Please.
As Member McPherson said, this is an attempt, one of the attempts, but the goal of this is to, one, improve our support level to our agencies. I know over time, over the past, we've had some struggles there with their help desk system and that type of stuff, but also to improve our communications out to all stakeholders, not just chiefs, not just users, but all stakeholders. The email that Anthony sent out outlined 8 or 9 steps for the county to take, that the county's going to take specifically to address these issues. I've outlined them here in the next couple of slides. There's a lot of words up there, I understand that. So I'll just summarize them for you. The first point is that the county IT department itself is going to be providing my team, the PRMS team within county IT, with additional resources and help us utilize current resources within county IT to support me and my team and our users. To do this, we've already begun this process. We're working currently. Anthony's provided, or Member McPherson has provided us with a business analyst, Lana Lang. Some of you may know her. She works for county IT. She's a business analyst, supports the Public Defender's Office. She's going to be assisting, taking some of the project management work off of my plate for the NIBRS reporting tool. Implementation. We still have the on-call analytics going on. We have some discovery stuff we're working with the State's Attorney's Office on. So Lana's, Lang is going to be able to take that off my plate. The next person is basically it's the county IT's one of our database administrators. She's already provided us with some support and done some work for us. And that really revolves around the NIBRS as well, one of our current processes in the NIBRS project. And then the last person that I've been working with in the past week is our county IT's web services manager, Deborah DC. She's going to help with an issue that we've had for a while and hopefully be able to help us better distribute video content to our users. That's one thing that they're working on, going to help us with. With Teams, it's fantastic. We can record all that stuff. I don't have a very usable way of distributing that information to our agencies. I can't just throw that stuff up on YouTube. Hosting those files is a lot. So the web services team is going to be helping us with that. The next area action item is to better it's really to streamline our support between the different applications that all of our agencies use. We specifically under PRMS, we support our on-call records, the web RMS system, and the FBR system and interfaces and stuff on the RMS side. CAD, obviously, ETSB supports the CAD environment. So in conjunction with the ETSB, who's really spearheading this whole move, we're going to be moving to a joint service desk system, a support desk, a joint help desk. It is based off of Zendesk, it is a Zendesk product. If you're not familiar with Zendesk, they're big in the industry when it comes to help desk systems. So it's a modern system. The system is stood up already. It's operational. We've got it configured. ETSB is going to be rolling that out. I believe last I talked with Matt Tush, the executive director there, which was 2 days ago. They're going to do a pilot program rollout with the PSAPs, and then we'll roll it out to the users. So that's basically what the goal of that is, to unify where people go. People have a problem with something, they go to one site. They don't have to go to 10 different sites. They go to the one site, they put in the information, it routes it to the correct person. We've also built in some intelligence into the forms so that we can prompt them to get the proper information that we need to help them. So that'll be a huge step to bringing kind of all of our different systems together. Now, if somebody has a problem with FBR, they just email everybody. They email county IT, they email ETSB, sometimes they even email their respective PSAP. The last point on there is a PRMS service desk quick reference card. That's basically the documentation that's going to go along with the rollout of the new Zendesk on the RMS side. It's designed to be a one sheet, just, this is when you need to, this is when you want to support, submit a ticket. This is who supports those tickets. This is how you submit your tickets. Just a point by point. I have given that to the Chiefs Command Group that I work with to review, and they generally they like it. They think it's perfect. It's what they need. So we'll be rolling that out as well with the Zendesk. The third item that we have here is for us to improve our service levels is to continue to work with Hexagon closely and to increase that involvement with Hexagon and bringing them and making sure we're on the same page with Hexagon and that Hexagon understands our agency's issues. To do this, we've already been doing these items. To do this, I meet several times with Hexagon staff. First, our RSA, the Resident System Administrator, has been huge at helping in this area. I meet with the RSA every Friday afternoon. I know the CAD team meets with them as well at a different time to do a complete review of all the week's activities and the plan for the next week. So we're making sure we remain focused on those steps so that we're all on the same page as to what's being done, when it's being done, what the priorities are. The next thing is we do, myself and Matt Toyce, the Deputy Director of ETSB, we meet monthly with Hexagon, our account manager. And that's the time for me and Max to kind of go over any of the bigger items with the account manager. Then we also meet monthly with our chief command group, our command focus group. That command focus group meets, that meeting is also with Tammy Heaton, the vice president from Hexagon. Her boss is in that meeting as well, Ben Ernst. So there's always that communication there with between Hexagon's execs and our chiefs group. The fourth item on here has to deal with communications to our stakeholders, to all of our stakeholders. We are in the process of reformatting our monthly reports. That's something that Member McPherson has been pushing for strongly to get done. And there's a couple of reasons we're doing this. One, to standardize the reports so I don't have to write 5 different reports every month, but also to give consistent data to the different groups. This group here will be getting an executive level summary of items. The command focus group will be getting a more detailed kind of update. And then our user group will get the most detailed, because they're the ones that me and my staff work with regularly to get through items and update it. In this month's report, my monthly report that was ETSB in this board this month is a different format. If you were able to read it, it's time to read it. I'm trying to incorporate the data that the chiefs want, excuse me, in that report. And I put that together. The chiefs gave it to the chiefs for them to review, provide me feedback. I'm not necessarily thrilled with the format of it, but I'm looking more for content at the moment. So that's an example of what we're doing as far to better this communication. Also the cadence, how often we communicate will be addressed. We do these monthly reports. Obviously, those are monthly reports. We do have every other, basically every 2 weeks as needed. We're going to be working in updates for the chiefs group and command group. If I need to update the user group, I just email them. I don't wait for some kind of formal report. So that's what we're doing there as far as improving our communications to our stakeholders. And also with that, I have the monthly user focus group, along with the command group that we meet with once a week or once a month. I meet with the user group. That's listed up here again in just a minute. The fifth item there is the PRMS team will provide more in-person and recorded trainings. This is going to be something that, well, we've already begun doing this as far as internal trainings. We started this with our on-call on-call analytics implementation. The on-call, we started 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, we started doing introduction sessions, which were just brief 1 to 2 hour training sessions with the agencies to teach them how to get in the system and that type of stuff. All that's recorded. I'm working with our web services team on how to get that posted so everybody can access that and manage, come up with a content management system for that. So that's what we're doing in the immediate term. Long term, we are going to be working in additional training, not just for analytics, but for all systems. We do have to get through the training for analytics, and then we're going to be rolling into NIBRS. So everybody's going to be probably up to their ears in training. But once we get past that, we're going to start going back around and doing some refresher training, starting from the beginning. Basically, kind of the 101 stuff. So more information will be coming about that in a couple of months, but that's where we're at right now. The sixth item we have there is to provide more project management support and best practices to ensure smooth implementation. To kind of address that in the immediate, one of the things that we're using is basically some project management software. Excuse me, project management software to create project plans and it's really to track the schedules and to track where we're at in the project. It's something that I've done all along. It's part of project management. But this time now it's electronic, it's in one spot. It's going to help us, it's going to help me, especially with bringing on Lana Lang as a business as support for project management to be able to communicate between us on that and hopefully improve on what we're doing there. This is the last slide for this. The 7th item there is that we'll address basically the general and agency-specific concerns. The BRMS team will address those concerns about our existing support process and the Hexagon application. I've had some conversation with member McPherson around this one specifically. One, we had that quick reference card, which will help define the support process better for our agencies. The other area is we're going to be looking into an area to solicit the comments from our agencies. A lot of times we don't necessarily hear the grumblings, we don't hear the problems until the grumblings get to a certain level. So we're going to be looking at a different way of getting the agency's input, making it easier for them to do it, and tracking that input to make sure that we're seeing it all the way through to the end. Number 8 and number 9 up there are things we've already discussed. The first one there is to have the command focus group meeting with myself and Hexagon, Tammy Heaton. We do that every month. It's the first Thursday of the month at 2 o'clock. The command focus group, just to remind you, is created of 5 chiefs. The 5 chiefs were determined by the DuPage Chiefs Association, their executive board. Deputy Chief Kurt Bavra chairs our command focus group. The other chiefs are on there. I use that group a lot to get, the chiefs are that operational head at the agencies. So that's been a phenomenal meeting with Hexagon there, and that's really we've gone, come a long way with this whole system, and a lot of that's because of that meeting. The last thing is we do have our user focus group meeting. This meeting meets this is the 3rd Tuesday of every month at 10 o'clock in the morning, so on the 15th this month. And this time is opened up to all agencies. We do have 12 specific members of the user focus group, which I do need to go back and review, make sure we don't need to reappoint. But we do open this up to all agencies, all users to join these meetings. I spend, last about an hour, I spend time going through the details of our open cases with Hexagon so that they're aware of what's going on, and answer questions, address anything that's upcoming, that type of stuff. So those are the two meetings that we have. They've been ongoing, and we'll continue to do those and focus on. Those are the items that Anthony had laid out, or member McPherson had laid out for the chiefs. Are there any questions regarding what I just went through?
Anybody have questions?
And we can provide copies of the PowerPoints to everyone.
I have a quick question. So
Sure.
with you're allocating more of the IT staff to PRMS
Yeah, we are temporarily.
temporarily.
Temporarily,
Okay.
until we can justify adding those individuals under the PRMS budget.
Right,
Longer
Page's
term.
budget.
Yeah, but it's an interim solution just to fix
Okay.
the current problem. Longer term, again, if we think we need the resources, we're going to go to budget and ask for additional funds
Okay.
under PRMS. But temporarily, we needed to do, I believe that we needed to make an immediate fix to give Dave a little more support, right? To support so many different agencies and all the things that are going on right now.
Thanks.
Other questions?
Sounds like a great plan.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Okay, project updates. Okay.
Yes,
We're on again.
sure. Give you an update. So while he's bringing up the presentation, the goal, Chairman and members, is for us to provide you guys an update on a regular basis on what's going on with our projects, right? We are involved in quite a few projects this year. There are a total of 3 big projects. 2 are actually in action right now and currently going on, and 1 will happen later on in the year. But I want to make sure that you're aware of what we're doing, how we're doing, and whether we're on track. So Dave's going to give us the first update.
All right. I don't, you guys are fairly familiar with the current projects that we have going on. The two main ones that we're focusing on right now, one is, the first one there is the on-call analytics. Currently, it's, the project's in progress. It is on schedule. The second one is the neighbors reporting tool, and it is in progress as well. We are experiencing a little bit of delay with that, and I'll talk about that in a minute so that you're aware of why we're having, where we're at with that process there. The blue bullet points are just kind of explanatory as to what they are. Is everybody comfortable with what the different ones are? Okay. All right, so this right here is a kind of a snapshot, high-level overview of the task involved around implementing the on-call analytics. If you notice there, the first 4 of them are completed. It's installed, it's set up. We've done our internal on-call analytics introduction sessions with the agencies. That was very well received from the agencies. We've done our system admin training. The next step in the process is going to be our end user training that's led by Hexagon. That is scheduled for Tuesday, February 22nd. It is a remote class done via Teams. So that is scheduled. I am waiting for the actual invite and documentation from Hexagon, but I should be getting that either today or tomorrow to get that out to the attendees. Once we're done with that training, the Hexagon portion is pretty much kind of done contractually. There's a couple other closeout things that we have to do. At that point in time, that's where we're going to pick up on our internal training when it comes to the on-call analytics. And just to give you a brief, just kind of where we're at, analytics, we purchased the system and it comes with the COTS. We call it COTS. It's custom off-the-shelf reports. It's their base reports. They give them to us and then we can then customize them. The current analytics system, as the agencies found out when we went through the, and they knew prior, when we went through the introduction sessions, the reports are all there. They run, the Power BI, some of them look cool. They got the cool, the graphics and all that stuff, but they're the COTS reports. They're not necessarily fine-tuned for us and what the county uses. For instance, in citations, it's pulling an address, but we don't use addresses. We use at your location. So we have to do some work on that. There's also, from these introduction sessions, I've noticed that it's a lot. There's a lot of reports. There's a lot to look at for the agencies. There's a lot to look at for my staff to go through each one and fine tune these. So what we're going to do when we get into, once we get past the Hexagon end user training on the 22nd, and I'll have all this scheduled before the 22nd, but we're going to start doing basically working sessions on each report, and we're going to take it by category. We're going to take there's actually 4 different calls for service reports in the system, the COD systems. So we're going to spend 2 hours and people can come on the Teams meeting. We're going to focus on calls for service and work those through, work out what needs to be done. That way the agencies are involved in that process as well. We're getting that input. We've asked for input from them. We've gotten some, but it's a lot to look at. So that's kind of where we're at now with the on-call analytics. But like I said, once we do the Hexagon end user training, contractually, we're not done with Hexagon, but as far as the project steps are concerned, where Hexagon's involvement, it now switches to us. Obviously, Hexagon's still there for support and all that stuff. And they've been very, very supportive in this project. Any questions about the analytics implementation? Yes.
I just have a couple if you don't mind.
Yes.
So the end user training are the end users aware of the date and time at least?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody, I've given them the date and time.
Okay, good.
I'm not sure if they've listened to that. Everybody listened to that, but yes, they've been given the date and time. I'm going to reiterate that and email out to them, hopefully this afternoon or in the morning, so that they're aware, because I don't know exactly who in each agency is going to be attending. So I'm going to have to work with the agencies to figure out who needs to get the invite.
Yeah, that's all I was asking, just because I know, we're going to have some sergeants involved and they're on different shifts, and just to plan out that stuff ahead of time. So thank you.
Right.
And then the second question I had was on the actual reports. Can we set a goal date for finalizing some custom reports? Because I know there's a couple of towns that have some excellent reports that we've been talking about using, but I think it would be helpful for the end users to know that by May 15th, we're going to have these in process or some type of goal date, because kind of with the the old reporting system, we always talked about customizing reports and it never really happened. So I think we should set some concrete goals for.
I will work on that for you, and I'll keep the Chiefs group updated, and the user group updated. Where we're at right now, we're not ready to do custom reports yet. Right now, we're still focusing on the COTS reports. And a typical implementation probably would not have gotten the agencies into the system as soon as we have this time around. But the reason we did that is because we want the agency's input on what's there. There's value, there's good value in the reports that are there. And also agencies are oppressed. They're trying to get their year-end reports done. So we took the path of bringing them on into the system like now. So the next process for us internally is to clean up those COTS reports. We're going to look at each one. There's calls for service, there's incidents, there's offenses, those general areas, and then we'll move into customization, excuse me, of reports. It's time consuming to get through these reports, and I'm trying to reframe how we're doing this, because when I had the introduction sessions, everybody's on, and it's a lot to go in and look at. So I'm trying to section it down to get through it. But once we get through that, then we'll roll into more of the customization stuff. We are working as well. I have a small developer group kind of forming between some of the agency staff that are data analysts that know Microsoft SQL Server reporting services. They know Power BI. So we're going to be utilizing that group. That's going to probably have them really focus more in on those custom stuff, because they come back, they come with that knowledge from the agencies. But I'm meeting with them hopefully next week, and I can probably get them more up to speed on doing that stuff now sooner, while we're working through these other stuff with the agencies. But,
Yeah, I've been in there. It shows some promise and, the ones that are working correctly. And so I'm looking forward to it. And then I think once we have some like best practices of some towns are doing, fantastic monthly reports off the old system or whatever, it'd be great to share with everyone. And so
Yes.
I'm looking
the
forward.
goal is to keep everybody informed. That's why, these meetings, even these going through these category by categories, all these reports, we've gone down the path before of trying to, keep the group small so the discussion's easy. And there's limitations there because it just wasn't getting out to everybody different ways. So this time around, we want everybody involved. And it might cause headaches as far as, dealing with everybody on one call, but we want everybody involved in this process. Yes.
So who is actually will be writing the customized reports? End users or someone on your team? How does that work?
Well, there's select end users that have the know-how and the ability to do it. That's that development group that we're kind of forming.
Okay.
For instance, from Hanover Park Police Department, they have a crime analyst. This is her background. So she was a part of our system admin training. Wheaton Police Department, the village of Wheaton has a data analyst that already knows how to do a lot of the stuff that we're trying to replicate. So, and there's a couple other people. Those people there, they want to, they'll have the ability to write reports. Nobody's publishing anything though. My staff will be the only people that will publish things out for everybody to use, to keep control over where all these reports are at. Because that's, in our old legacy system, was part of the problem. You go in there and there's 150 reports, and each agency may run 4 or 5 of them because people were building reports. So we're going to control that and manage that, and to manage it, to keep it clean, but also that everybody has access to every report, not just.
Yeah, that was my point. They'll eventually be able to share.
Yeah, it's going to be shared across. That's why I want to form that development team with that in mind. That it's not a Hanover Park report. We're building that out for agencies, because in the end they all have to report. Oh, I shouldn't say that. It's amazing. It's always amazed me because in the end they all have they all have to report the same stuff, and they all have to legally do the same things. But it's amazing how many different ways they can do it. So we're trying to bring it all together. All right, any other questions about analytics?
The reports that you're talking about, those are reports that are specific to an agency, right? I mean, I'm concerned if agencies are globally looking at all the data and running benchmark comparisons between other communities,
No, it'll be filtered. The reports for that agency. So if Chief Vesta goes into the system, he'll click on Wooddale and it only shows them Wooddale information, the Wooddale numbers.
But they can be used as templates for those other
Right.
agencies. So I
Okay.
think, yeah. So they'll be specific to their agencies, but we can then take that template and then apply it across the board.
Once the report is written, changing it to each agency is simple. That's a simple process. Any other questions about analytics?
Right, it is. It is. It's, very similar to Crystal reports and how it's used.
You're gonna.
All right, I'm going to go on and move on then to the NIBRS reporting tool. Again, you can see here, this is kind of a list of what's kind of the core task groups and some of the core tasks. As you can see, there's a lot of TBDs on here. There is a reason that that's there. One of the reasons, just so that everybody's aware in this room, in meeting and speaking with the chief command group, the command focus group, they had specifically asked to do analytics first, and then we get into the NIBRS reporting tool. And they asked for that just to keep the amount of work that their staff has to do and learn. Analytics is going to be the easiest thing, easier one of the two to pick up on. NIBRS will be a little more of a process. So that's kind of why some of this stuff is to be determined. Obviously, the first step we have done is installed. Where we're at right now is doing the internal code review. And there's two parts of that. There's the code tables that has to deal with the NIBRS data elements. And then there's our offense list from the state police that has changed. This is where we're delayed at the moment. It's delayed because of the start dates I put in. Knowing that this whole thing is, the chiefs want this to come behind analytics. Some of this was up to how the analytics flows. But so we are technically delayed as from the start times I put in this process. Part of that process, part of the delay is just the amount of work it's turning out to be, and also, but with the additional resources coming from county IT, the database administrator, I'm hoping to have this portion wrapped up soon, coming up by the end of this week, but by next week. That way we can go on and start moving on to the training steps. The training steps, once we get the code review done, and the reason we're doing the code review, just so FYI, so you know, and I've been telling everybody this, I spent some time discussing the NIBRS implementation with Aurora Police Department, because they're doing the same exact implementation we are, pretty much the same time. They're like a week or two ahead of us at the time. And they suggested basically to stop and get our codes correct, because they didn't do that and they went into the testing, and it's been a nightmare for them trying to figure out if it's a code issue or if it's a system, an application issue. So their recommendation was to stop and do this. So that's what we did, and then we got delayed with some stuff. But so currently we're right at about 2 weeks behind what the original start date was. But the start date doesn't, like I said before, it's a date we set when we were doing it. So it's a legitimate date, but that's where we're at with that. So that's why we're doing the code review. Once that's done, we're going to move over into the training and testing sections. Those are, in Hexagon's world, those are kind of two items that they're two separate items, but they kind of dovetail with each other. First, obviously, we're going to do our system admin training, and then we're going to be doing our end user training up front. And the reason we're doing our end user training up front with their agencies is because we want every agency in their agency doing these test plans and testing the system. In the past, we always just picked one agency and we tested that agency. And when we did the implementation, we found that when we copied those settings out, it ended up being it wasn't smooth. It wasn't as smooth as we wanted it to be. And then we ended up having to track things down. So instead of going down that path, everybody's going to be set up the same way, but every agency is going to be doing the testing. And it's important because the records clerks are going to have to learn how to do this and do this well, as far as the actual running of this tool, validating the reports, fixing the reports, and submitting. So we're going to be working directly with the agencies on this. again, as early as, as early as we can. Once the training is completed, we're going to roll into the testing phase. Every agency will be testing in their agency. This is all done, by the way, in our test environment. So they'll be testing in their agencies. We'll have test plans. Hexagon's already provided us with some template test plans to make sure that we're covering everything. Once we're satisfied that and tested, we'll set a kind of go live date, basically, which is the date that we'll take all of our configuration settings and apply them to our production system. And the system will actually start collecting the NIBRS data that we need to submit in our production environment. At that point in time, we'll be engaging the state police, Illinois State Police, to begin our certification process through them. That's about a 3-month process. It is a 3-month process. And in a nutshell, one of our agencies will be going through the certification process, and they have to send 3 months worth of data that is 95% or higher accuracy, with 95% or higher accuracy in the data. Once we get that done, they'll be certified. The state is allowing us to certify as a consortium. Meanwhile, while we're going through the certification process and the go live stuff, part of our contract is for an actual interface between RMS and the state's repository system. And Hexagon, as of last week, was about 90% done. Excuse me, was about 90% done getting that developed and ready to install in our environment. So we will be testing that along the way. We can't test it until we actually get to this go live. Well, we can't test it beforehand, but the real testing will start when we start with the go live date, when we're actually collecting the NIBRS data in production. And that'll be done probably simultaneously to the certification process. The goal is for the records clerks to be able to prepare their reports in the tool and click the submit button, and it electronically sends it to the state. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Probably a little bit in the weeds, but is this going to include the FBI reporting on use of force also?
I don't know, but I have to look into that.
Or is there a way that they could manually, I know you'd have to validate that too, but manually enter that and send it along? Because now we used to submit it directly to CGIS, but now it has to go through the UCR portal,
Right.
Which is fine.
Right.
We adjusted the thing, but I just wonder if
Some of that is still to be determined by the state. But I'm not blaming that on the state right now because I don't know. I need to go back and look. Because there's domestic violence reporting that we've always done with UCR. There's the use of force. There's some school shooting stuff that all gets reported separately. We have all those current reports and that data in our UCR reporting tool, and it is part of the NIBRS world. But I don't know what the state's done with it. I don't know if they're still requiring all of those things done separately or if they've baked it into NIBRS as a total.
Let's take it as an action item.
Yes.
And just do a follow-up. We'll do a follow-up.
Okay. Thank you.
Jason.
Chief, to your point, I was just going to ask about that with some of the new reporting requirements out of these new bills. I was curious if this was going to be able to meet those needs that's going to be set by the Illinois Police Training and Standards Board, as well as, I think it's ISP, who's the other main one right now.
Correct, yeah.
So-
And obviously there's even additional ones such
Yeah.
as mental health cases.
Correct. Yeah, so that's where I was just curious if that's something that could be worked in something like this. So individuals in this, I don't know.
I got to go back and look at it. I don't know. Off the top of my head, I would say probably not.
Okay.
Just to kind of set that expectation,
Right.
because this is NIBRS specific, and NIBRS deals specifically with reporting of offenses and arrest charges.
Okay.
So what the state's requiring, I don't know yet, but I'll get back. I'll
No, that's fine. Just
take that as.
something I was thinking of. Yeah.
Any other questions about the NIBRS reporting tool implementation?
I have a question. I know for a long time, we were waiting for the state on their end
Yes, sir.
to be able to receive the NIBRS reporting.
Yes.
They completed their end of it.
Yes. Their repository is accepting data electronically and through their portal. There's 3 ways that the agencies can submit data moving forward in NIBRS is electronically, which we're going for. They can upload a file through the portal, or they can actually go to the portal and manually enter the numbers in. But
So-
that is all up and running.
How are we submitting all our data now?
Currently, UCR is manual entry on the state's portal, but that's everybody in the state. I believe there are a couple agencies that have an interface, but most everybody in UCR world is manual entry.
And I know this is a difficult question, but do you have a prediction when we're going to be able to start submitting through NAVERS? Difficult question.
It's a difficult question because right now, the schedule depends on getting this code review done, which will be done hopefully by the next week. After that, we have to do some scheduling resource of it, stuff with Hexagon, see when the resourcing is done. Realistically, if we can get through the sysadmin and get the training underway in March would be ideal to get the training done and the testing complete, which would probably run into April. At that point, if we set a go live date into April, then we're looking at it being live in production. We're pulling data, then we're just going through the 3-month certification process. But that's ballpark figures. Makes me uneasy saying it out loud. And that's generous ballpark figures too. I'll say that. I've got some time built into that off the top of my head.
Anybody else have questions? Thank you very much, Dave. Hexagon contract renewals. Our next item of discussion. You want to start?
I can start it off. My boss is looking at me.
But I'll look at you too.
I don't have a PowerPoint presentation
You're
for
doing
this.
such a great job.
I don't have a PowerPoint presentation for this one or a spreadsheet at the moment. As far as we've talked about some negotiations in the last 2 meetings, I believe, even I think even before then. We've been working, me and Member McPherson have been working with ETSB and their consultant, Mike Galvin, to hammer out the issues that we had with the statement of work and the contract. All the statement of work issues have been ironed out and are set to go. Where we're at now is just the financing part, the cost section of that. And that would be something I would like.
Yeah, I'll chime in, Dave. You're doing such a great job. I thought you were going to finish it up. So originally, the plan was to complete the contract and execute it by this month. We recently had a meeting with Hexagon where we went into detail over some concerns that we have with additional pricing and things of that nature. At the end of that conversation, it was determined that we're not quite there, and we need to make sure that we are clear on each and every dollar that we're spending in that contract. So they've agreed to work with us over the next month. Our goal is to have all of our discussions and all of our validations of what's in the contract completed this month so that we can present to you guys next month and then get formal approval through ETSB next month as well. So that's where we are with that contract. We're very close to completing it. The 90% of the language and the content we're comfortable with. Some of the dollar amounts that they're proposing, we are not comfortable with. So we're trying to work through some of those discrepancies. Some of them may be legit. We just want them to prove to us that they're actually legit. There are some things that are bundled. We ask them to break those things apart and to go line by line and tell us what we're paying for each item. So that's the reason for the extension. So we hope that by this time next month, we'll be done and clear and comfortable, and we can present to you exactly what's in the contract and ask for formal approval. So.
Is there a deadline to the current agreement or no?
June.
June.
So we, for once, have plenty of time.
And then does this tie into billing for the, I think we're on that from someone on the billing for the
Billing guys over there.
upcoming billing? I don't
A
think those,
little bit, yeah.
those haven't gone out yet though, have
They have not.
Okay, that's what I
I've been
wanted to
working
make
with finance to get the, they had updated accrual, actuals. So we've got those numbers. Finance gave those to me at the end of last week, or last week. And then I'm putting those in the spreadsheet and get it back to them, and they'll get the invoices out. So they haven't gone out yet. I have had a couple agencies looking for them, and unfortunately don't have them out yet, but they're coming.
Okay.
Are they looking for those for the end of the fiscal year?
No, I think it was just, hey, we probably paid at a similar time last year, and then that's why I got an inquiry on it, I think. So I said, stand by, I think it's coming, so.
And once just kind of the bigger, a little bigger picture, once the contract is worked out and signed, it'll be, that's our third project that Member McPherson referenced earlier. He said 3 projects, I'll cover 2. The third project is the big rollover to the new system. It's an upgrade to the RMS system. It's upgrade to their 10.0 version, which is a rescanning the system. Also, that includes the replacement of FBR with the MFR product. So we'll start that process. We're not, once we sign on the dotted line, it's not going to start right away. There's going to be some time before we get into that. Hexagon is already working at risk with this contract on some of the VM stuff. We'll have to get hardware in. It'll take some time to get there. Also, me and Member McPherson are adamant that we're not the first people to go on to this new MFR system. So we're working with Hexagon to find out where they're at with their other customers and their implementations. Because we're still going to be early adopting this new, the new MFR, but we don't want to be the first.
And that's a general tactic that we should always take, because typically when new products come out, there's a lot of issues and bugs. The user groups are the ones that identify what those bugs are, and then the software companies take those escalation and issues and create patches to fix them. So we don't want to be the first to go ever. We would prefer to be maybe second, third, or somewhere down the line after another organization has identified what the big issues are. The company has created patches, and then we go with the second version or the third version that comes out. It'll save us a lot of grief if we do it that way. So that's the goal here, is that we want to complete these 2 projects well, the 2 projects that we're currently doing now, to make sure that the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted. And then we want to give it some time for the Hexagon's existing users to implement it, MFR, identify problems, then for Hexagon to turn around and create patches to fix those problems. Then we'll roll it out mid to late of this year.
And Hexagon does have a couple customers, other customers that are well into the way of implementing the new system. So it's not something that I don't think we're going to wait a year for somebody to implement it. They're in that process. I don't have a go live date for those agencies. I don't know where they are, but so it is being implemented elsewhere. And Hexagon's going through that process. That was just described there, those implementations. So it shouldn't hold us up, but we do want to make sure that we're not the first.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, we can move on to item number 8, any old business? None. Any new business? New business, all right. Looking for a motion and a second to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the meeting's adjourned. Next meeting is June 14th. Thank you.